The dark side of empathy. When caring gets creepy today, we're diving deep into the squishy, emotional world of empathy. But wait, don't click away just yet. I promise we're not going to get all touchy-feely. At least, not entirely. Because today, we're talking about the dark side of empathy. Yeah, that's right, empathy has a creepy, shadowy underbelly, and we're going to explore it like a nosy neighbor with a pair of binoculars. Now, before you think I've turned into a cold-hearted villain plotting world domination with a lack of feelings, let me clarify. Empathy is great. We all need it. It's like the glue that holds society together. But sometimes, just sometimes, that glue gets a little too sticky. So grab your popcorn, your feelings, and maybe a cozy blanket, because things are about to get weird. What is empathy? Okay, quick refresher on what empathy actually is. Empathy is like emotional Wi-Fi, it's how we connect to other people's feelings. There are two main types: cognitive empathy, which is like reading the instruction manual to someone else's brain, and emotional empathy, where you actually feel what they're feeling. Step 1, feel all the feels. Step 2, cry uncontrollably at dog food commercials. Got it. In all seriousness, empathy helps us build relationships, understand each other, and makes us human. But what if that emotional Wi-Fi starts to drop connection or, worse, picks up on the wrong signals? When empathy goes too far, imagine this: you're at a party, and your friend starts telling you about their terrible day. You're nodding along, feeling their pain, when suddenly, you start to feel too much. You're so tuned in that you're practically living their bad day. Now you're both miserable, and the party's a total buzzkill. Congratulations, you've just experienced empathy overload. Oh no, it's off the scale. Someone get me some emotional boundaries, stat. Empathy overload is a real thing, and it's when your empathy dial is turned up so high, it's like you're streaming someone else's emotional Netflix account, on their most dramatic episodes. This can lead to emotional burnout, where you're so drained from feeling everyone else's feelings that you can't even manage your own. Tastes like self-care. When empathy makes you a doormat, ever feel like everyone's personal emotional sponge? Yeah, me too. Here's the thing, when you're too empathetic, you might start prioritizing everyone else's feelings over your own. You become the go-to person for everyone's problems, and before you know it, you're stuck in a never-ending cycle of giving, until you have nothing left. It's like being a doormat, but for emotions. And let me tell you, folks, doormats don't have it easy. At some point, you have to ask yourself, am I being empathetic, or am I just being a sucker? Remember, it's okay to say no, set boundaries, and prioritize your own well-being. Empathy shouldn't mean sacrificing your own happiness for the sake of others. It's time to reclaim your emotional space. Stand tall, set those boundaries, and maybe invest in a nice emotional do not disturb sign. The empathy trap, it's real, and it's sneaky. Here's how it works. You start off by empathizing with someone, trying to understand their perspective. But then, somewhere along the way, you start to lose sight of your own needs and values. You get so wrapped up in their world that you forget you have your own. This is where empathy becomes a double-edged sword. If you're not careful, you might find yourself justifying someone else's bad behavior because you understand where they're coming from. Or worse, you might start compromising your own beliefs to avoid hurting someone else's feelings. Red flag alert. Just because you can understand someone's pain doesn't mean you have to accept their actions. It's important to maintain your own moral compass, even when you're swimming in a sea of empathy. Toxic empathy. Alright, folks, this is the part where empathy gets downright toxic. You see, when you're too empathetic, you can end up enabling harmful behavior. You might keep excusing someone's actions because you feel sorry for them, even when they're clearly in the wrong. This can lead to toxic relationships, where one person takes advantage of your empathy, and you end up stuck in a cycle of emotional manipulation. But you understand why I keep forgetting your birthday, right? I'm just so busy with my own stuff. Oh, of course. It's totally fine, I get it. Do you need anything else? My kidney, perhaps? See how that works? Toxic empathy is when your kindness becomes your kryptonite. It's okay to be compassionate, but don't let someone else's issues drag you down into their personal drama vortex. Boundaries. Remember, you can still be a good person without being everyone's emotional punching bag. Set limits and protect your peace. Balancing empathy with logic. So, how do we balance this emotional tightrope? The key is to mix empathy with a healthy dose of logic. It's like making a smoothie, too much of one ingredient can ruin the whole thing. So, don't be afraid to question your feelings and think critically about a situation. Add a splash of understanding, a spoonful of compassion, and a dollop of self-care, and voila! You've got a perfectly balanced blend. Sometimes, it's okay to step back and say, is this really my problem? Or am I getting sucked into something that's beyond my control? Remember, it's okay to care, but don't let caring control you. So there you have it, the dark side of empathy. It's not about turning off your feelings or becoming a heartless robot. It's about finding that sweet spot where you can care for others without losing yourself in the process. And if you ever feel like empathy is turning you into an emotional sponge, just remember, sponges are great for cleaning up messes, but even they need to be wrung out once in a while. Here's to healthy boundaries, balanced emotions, and the courage to care without getting lost in the feels. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe, and share it with someone who might need a little emotional pep talk.